Brethren, thank you so much for joining me. But remember, after reading the caption of the broadcast, please read the description of the broadcast as well. Then like it, share it. Invite your friends, invite your not so friendly friends, and tell them all that Mayegun today, Mayegun is live. Thank you. So tonight, we are starting from the letter sent to the Nigeria Senate. Akpabiole, where Akpabiole is their president, by the way. And in that letter, Kolu made request for several approval for several loans. Remember that I am always here to remind you, right, the characters that you are dealing with. People who have industrialized propaganda, lies. You know, Yoruba says that two people doesn't really lose out on lies. You see, if somebody you are lying to is unaware, fine, but you that is telling the lie, at least you are aware that you are lying, right? But when it comes to the APC, Egbekegbe, lies, they themselves can't really differentiate between lies and truth anymore. That it has gotten so chronic in them that even their own lies that they told and sold to people, they themselves are believing them. You need to listen to them to understand how deranged many of them are. I mean, they are people who live off assumptions, imaginations, and then, of course, promises. And somehow, right, when these lies, perchance get busted, these guys will double down because they want the lie to be true so bad that they will ignore the criminals who lied to them, who put them in this danger, begin to go after those who are questioning and exposing the lies. Propaganda of APC, Egbekegbe. They are also very good in gaslighting people. Asking questions to them triggers them, and therefore you will be gaslighted. Like, are you not happy to hear the news? Are you not this or that? And the moment of truth, whenever it's sort of like it's them, they double down. They are like the most unfortunate set of people you would ever come across. It is like a sickness. But for the sake of posterity, for the sake of our own children, you see, the adults that lie to themselves live in denial of what is so obvious. It is in our place to ensure that the coming generation never grows up to become this set of hypocrites, liars, who have somehow become so heartless too. Now, what is the story? In the last few weeks, right, they were propagating this lie of Tinubu paying off IMF debt. They, in fact, said he paid off $3.4 billion. No, he didn't. Right? In an arrangement that is now obvious why. That Nigeria should be paying back at $300 million since 2023, and a total of $1.4 billion was paid back as the balance of the COVID money they gave to Nigeria that Nigerians didn't benefit a shishi from. You know, that's the first one. Oh. They looted what was supposed to be a loan to support Nigerians during the shutdown. I've been a lockdown, you call them. They stole the money, but Nigeria still had to pay back, right? Anyway, they were so pushy about it that they added so many lies. It cleared the backlog, $7 billion backlog of what? Now, they fed their mugus those lies, and everybody would try to kind of like give them what is really the truth, were called name, you know. There was something bigger coming. While they were celebrating paying $1.4 billion IMF loan, Tinubu already added over 92 trillion naira. You heard me right, 92 trillion naira to Nigeria's debt in 18 months. And most of these debts, right, were never really used for the purpose for which they were, you know, collected. That is the saddest part. If I ask you, just same way I can ask you and say, how many of you can please, in all honesty, come out with facts what Bokwari used $50 billion, the 27.5 trillion naira that Bokwari printed for 8 years, took Nigeria's debt from $13 billion at the time to over 80 billion dollars, $87 billion, what they call the official. Unofficially, it's actually like $110 billion. And then they cooked the book, right? Nobody can say, what did they actually use the 50 billion? Nobody can really point to that. But however, it's part of the Nigeria's national debt. It's also part of why Nigeria is suffering from hyperinflation, no matter how much they try to doctor their inflation figures that they have been doing. You know, lies and reality. When you finish eating the lies, then you come back to reality and eat that too. And that's exactly what some of you need to know. The real enemies, your real enemies, are those who told you and still telling you that they are doing a reform. 92 trillion naira added to Nigeria debts in 18 months. Can anybody really say what they used it for? Remember, they removed subsidy and they were supposed to be saving at least $2 billion from subsidy every year. Where is the money? Tinubu himself has printed over 20 trillion naira since he came or he grabbed power. Where is the money? So their 2025 budget is or was a proposed to 47 trillion or 47.7 trillion. By the time the likes of Akpabiole and this gang, by the time they were done with the budget, they jumped straight to 54 trillion, nearly 55 trillion naira. In that budget, they said they expected to generate tax, money from taxes, right? Called revenue, by the way. And then money sold, the crude oil sold and whatever they sell it, right? They said they were going to raise 23 trillion naira from their 54 trillion naira. So where was the rest going to come from? Because of all these Tinubu's incessant loans, right? That is why they have to continue to tax you and tax you. You see this one they were calling the, what did you call it? The tax reform, tax reform. They sold to you, right? Has always been part of the conditions given to them that made them devalue Nigerian naira so much that they still continue to kind of propagate the lies that they've made Nigerian naira stronger. In this whole voodoo economy, in this Tinubunomic, right? Fiction and reality, they are two different things. So he paid off $1.4 billion. Now he wants to borrow $21.5 billion, 2.1 billion euros, 15 billion Japanese yen, $65 million for a grant. And he is also raising a federal government bond, which is also a loan, 758 billion naira to pay off pensioners all at once. And guess what? Akpabiole and his gang, they can't wait because inside that budget, because here is a certain question, or here are some questions that we can ask that should possibly give you an idea the characters you are dealing with. Okay. According to Tinubu and the Dironukus, since Tinubu removed subsidy and yes, they've imposed different kind of taxes on you, increase your taxes on telecommunication, taxes on gas, taxes on, on almost everything, right? And we are talking about including taxes on electricity, by the way. By removing tariffs, they remove, I'm sorry, I said tariff. By removing subsidy, they remove subsidy on education, removed subsidy on, what do you call it? Electricity, right? Removed the subsidy on the healthcare. Now, remove subsidy on petroleum products. These are the conditions of the IMF World Bank. So at the end of the day, right, they said the states are getting more money, which they wanted to applaud, because at the end of the day, the money they claim to be given to your state, more money given to states, more money to local governments. When you by the time you factor in the kind of inflation you are battling with in that contraption, you realize that there is no other group of criminals to be called GBAJUE than these rogues. Because you may be asking yourself, but we are not feeling the impact. You will never feel it. Not in a voodoo economy, right? So, what the hell is going on? Why would Tinubu need over 44 trillion naira? Right? They say they are using that to fund, to defend the naira, to stabilize economy, to improve rail network, to improve healthcare, to improve security. I was like, hang on. What about the 92 trillion naira that you've added to the debt? What can people really point to? Some said that the coastal road, the one they have, the one that's supposed to be 700 kilometers, right? But right now, Tinubu is going to commission 30 kilometers and they're going to put toll gates on it. And they're clapping for themselves. Nearly 2 trillion naira paid to Shaguri. So we're going to go to what he actually sent to the National Assembly, Akwabioli and his gang, because of our time, right? It's a long watch, so I've cut them into bits, right? The first part.
Clause. And Section 82, subsection 2, establishes the Pension Protection Fund and mandates federal government of Nigeria to contribute annual subvention of 1% into the fund to part finance minimum pension guarantee for retirees whose RSAs balances had depleted while receiving pension. The Senate is invited to note that the federal government of Nigeria has not been complying. So, distinguished colleagues, I'll take this again. We are looking at requests for approval of the federal government 2025 to 2026 external borrowing rolling plan in the total facility and projects and programs under the borrowing plan of $21.5 billion and Japanese yen 15 billion and grant of 65 million euros respectively, and the summary of the breakdown is attached herewith. The Senate, in the light of the removal of the fuel subsidy and its impact on the national economy, approval is sought for the external borrowing plan. I want to emphasize that the projects and programs included in the borrowing plan were selected based on thorough technical and economic evaluations, as well as their anticipated contributions to the socio-economic development of the country. These initiatives aim to generate employment, promote skill acquisition, foster entrepreneurship, reduce poverty, and enhance food security, all of which will improve the livelihoods of the average Nigerian. The majority of these projects and programs will be implemented across all the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory. In light of the significant infrastructure deficit in the country and the vast financial resources needed to address this gap amid declining domestic funding, it has become essential to pursue prudent external borrowing to close the financial shortfall. This funds will primarily be directed towards critical infrastructure projects, including sectors of power, railways, healthcare, amongst others. Given the urgent nature of these needs and the importance of stabilizing the economy, it is crucial to seek the consideration and approval of the distinguished Senate for the 2025 to 2026 external borrowing plan. This will enable the government to fulfill its obligations to the Nigerian people through timely disbursements and effective project implementation. While I look forward to the consideration and approval of the Senate, please accept, distinguished Senate President and distinguished Senators, the assurances of my highest regards. Yours sincerely, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President, Commander-in-Chief, Federal Republic of Nigeria. From Mr. President. Request for the approval of the National Assembly for the issuance of Federal Government of Nigeria bonds to settle outstanding pension liabilities under the Contributory Pension Scheme by the Debt Management Office to settle outstanding pension liabilities under the Contributory Pension Scheme as at December 2023 in the sum of 757 billion 983,246,571 naira. The distinguished Senate may wish to note that the Pension Reform Act PRA 2014 provides for the following, amongst others: sections 15(1) and 32, 39, subsection 2 and 3 recognize the accrued pension rights of employees for services rendered before the commencement of the implementation of the PRA 2004 in Nigeria, mandate the federal government of Nigeria to set aside 5% of its monthly wage bill into redemption fund to settle such past pension liabilities, and National Pension Commission to determine any shortfall in this regard. Section 15(4) guarantees the right of retirees to pension review in line with the provisions of the 1999 Constitution as amended.
Because I'm trying to like calm myself, because it is crucial that, you know, what I'm going to say, the following things I'm going to say now, it is really, really crucial that I pass the message properly. Like, we can do it together. Because, you know, inside me, I am like, what would it look like if the people, for once, understand what these guys represent and what that means for their own well-being, for the safety and livelihood of yourself and your loved ones, barring any form of what do you call it, identity that you probably like have. You get what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter who you are. I wish that those of you those of you that will be affected or affected by the actions and then the conspiracies, the criminalities of these guys, if you understand the consequences of that, the impact of that on your life, on your well-being, on your business, on your family, on your loved ones, on your health, on your community, for once, maybe we probably can have a better world to leave behind for our own children. So now, hang on. Akwabiole, according to what he read, because he was reading it, it's not like he was the one saying all those things, right? So Akwabiole said that the reason why they wanted to collect 21.5 billion call 419, he waited for 14 months to clear the 300 million they were paying back, right? And then in total, 1.4 billion paid. And Tinubu decided to, number one, request for $20 billion. You know that 1.5 on it, that one is like with interest. Like I don't fool these mofos, right? So now make it 21.5 billion. That is in dollars, so 2.5 billion euros. Another 65 million euros. Then another 15 billion Japanese yen. It was like, put everything. I wish it could go on, probably get some pounds, get some riyad, rand, tefa, and what have you, like that, sachet you get. Because it is